You've already watched the fundamentals. You got a good feel for what's needed as far as just gripping the gun. Let's go a little bit more dynamic now into some actions like drawing the gun, reloading the gun, awkward shooting positions, and so forth. Let's start with the draw. First off, get some equipment, get some form of a holster. We're going to start with just an open top holster. Of course, there's a lot of options here. There's inside the waistband, there's concealed holsters and such we'll talk about later. But for this purpose, we're going to just go with an open top holster. Other considerations with the holster is the retention level. Many law enforcement holsters have what's called level 3 retention, where there's various mechanisms you have to defeat to draw the gun. Of course, you have to train these mechanisms in high volume to be very proficient at them, so they happen on demand in one big chunked sequence. But let's start for right now just with an open top holster. Basically, from your hands in any position, whether they're relaxed at sides or the defensive posture, out holding an object, what have you, you want to grab the gun as quickly as possible. And to get to the gun, put your hands out and basically work your fingertips as quickly as possible. Instead of like being a lot of power motion from your core, think about the opposite. Movement not coming from your core, but more from your extremities. Probably like some kind of kung fu stuff. So anyways, as your hands whip from a relaxed position, go ahead and whip your hands up to the gun. All right, see how my fingertips are almost leading the path. You're going to notice a few things here. One is, as I go for my gun, I will naturally start dropping into a bent knee stance. So I do these motions in parallel at the same time as much as possible, because if I do them in sequence, it just simply takes too long, and it adds effectively unnecessary motion. So my fingertips are flowing, I'm dropping into position, and my left hand comes to this relaxed position where I am poised to get it on the gun as soon as possible. Another safety consideration is I don't want to sweep my left hand with the muzzle. We've gone over the 4 fundamental safety rules, and I'm not prepared to destroy my fingers, so I'm not going to point the muzzle at them. But going back to the strong hand, notice how the fingertips are going to come up and wrap around the gun as quickly as possible. It's almost like they're racing the elbow and the wrist to get up and around the gun as quickly as possible. As these fingertips come up and lead, they drive forward, because I don't want to have a loose grip down in this region. I want to be up and high into this beaver tail upper region of the gun as much as possible and apply some force. Now, if you have a tight concealment holster and it's very tight to your body, you may come up over the back part of the gun and then adjust that thumb as you come out. If you have a little bit more of a gap, like a law enforcement holster, you can actually bring that thumb all the way in and wrap it around without any snag issues. So from here, with your weak hand up, go ahead and grab the gun and just draw it straight up from the holster with as minimum movement as possible. A major deficiency people have with drawing a gun is they have way too much motion in their body. Remember, only contract the muscles necessary to accomplish the desired task. So any uncontraction, torsional, goofy actions, it just doesn't add value, where all we need to do is minimize our movement to get this gun out of the holster. Of course, you're going to have limitations of shoulder mobility and things of that nature, but do what you can to minimize that movement. Get this weak hand on the gun as quickly as possible. Namely, get your forefinger of your support hand, or also called your weak hand, right underneath the trigger guard. And you'll eventually build a cueing point where you just naturally feel where it should be once you come out and establish your grip. One drill I like to do is establish my grip and then work in reverse, and I can feel right at this location where that cueing point is on that first knuckle. Now as I present out, I get my support hand rolled into action so it finds its home right in this little canal region. So from the draw, I have a cueing point. It finds the home right here. These thumbs are relaxed. Remember, in the grip, these thumbs are like gaskets. They're not tense, remember. They're like gaskets. Our chest is going to squeeze these rubber-like soft gaskets together and make them firm and consistent behind that gun. And from right here in this high ready position, we can start to prep the trigger as we align it on the target, and then ultimately get acceptable muzzle alignment and send the round. Those are the fundamentals of the draw. Again, the draw is fairly simple, but fairly difficult to master. In time, you can work the draw from basically any type of hand orientation. So if you want to practice, a flinch response, or just like hands relaxed on sides, or if you want to train, for example, like holding an object or some kind of defensive posture, you can basically work your hands from all types of orientations, but ultimately you're simply just driving those fingertips to that gun, working the hands in combination, dropping to your stance in parallel, and getting that target and getting that muzzle on target as quickly as possible.